Good evening, or good morning if the nights run on long enough that the words stopped meaning much. Do something for me first, before I tell you anything. Stop and listen to the room you're in. There's a sound under everything. There always is. The icebox, the wires in the wall, the street or the weather, or the blood in your own ears if it's late enough and the house is quiet enough. You don't hear it, most of you, because it never stops. And a thing that never stops, the mind files away and quits reporting on. It's down there, though, holding the world up. You'd find out how much it was holding up if it went. Now picture it gone. Not turned down, not muffled the way snow muffles a street. Gone, every last layer of it, down to the blood. Your body would not call that peace. I want to be plain about that, because quiet is a warm word mostly. We go looking for it, we pay for it, we drive a long way to get a little of it. But that's a small quiet, a turned down quiet, with the floor still under it. The other kind, the real kind, with nothing under it at all, your body has one answer to that, and it is not peace. The first thing your body does when the sound goes out from under the world is decide it's gone deaf and start hunting. Hunting for one sound, any sound, to prove it still works. There's a place in these woods where that happens, where the sound goes out. And if you stand in it long enough, frightened, straining, your whole body gone to one raw ear, the place will give you a sound. I've stood in it. The better part of 30 years ago now, and I have never once put it on the air. And I'll be honest with you, I sat down tonight not entirely sure I was going to. In all the rules I've been handed in all my years up here, and I've been handed a great many by people who had every reason to know, that's the one I have never been tempted to break a second time. Most of them I can hold at arm's length, catalog, turn over, tell you about with my folklorist's hat on and a little distance in my voice. Not that one. That one I believe with the back of my neck. Let me tell you where, as near as I'm able. You know the Marrow, those of you who've been with me a while, the big woods across the whole north of the county. The old logging roads run through it like stitches. Most of it is just woods, hard country, lonesome country, but woods. You can hunt it, get turned around in it, find your way back out by the river, same as anywhere. But there's a pocket of it off on the western side, deep in, where the logging never went and the second growth never started, because nobody ever cut the first. Old trees. The kind of old you don't see anymore in this part of the world. The kind that were already big when the walls in those woods were getting laid by hands nobody can name. The hunters don't go in there. Not won't. Don't. It isn't discussed. There's no story attached to it that anybody'll tell you. No, this happened to so-and-so. There's just the edge of it, and people not crossing the edge, the way water finds a level. The state sent a survey crew in there once in the 50s to map it, run their lines, put it on paper like everything else. They came back out and they did not finish. That's the whole of what the record says. A blank in the map the shape of those woods to this day. The men who'd know why are in the ground now and weren't talkers when they were above it. And the name? The people out that way don't give it a fearsome name. No old country word, nothing you could put on a sign. They call it the quiet. That's all. The quiet. The way you'd name a field or a bend in the road. And I spent a long time in my younger years up here thinking that was just country plainness, folks naming a still place a still name. It took me a while to understand they weren't describing how it feels to be in there. They were telling you what it does. Now, I should say how I come to know any of this, because I'm not from here, and a man not from here has no business knowing the inside of a thing like that. I came up to the Hollows in the fall of 1962. Came to do 2 years of field work, collect the oral histories, write it all up, take it home to a department that expected me back. 2 years. You can hear how that turned out. I didn't come up alone. There was someone doing the work with me those first years. Better hands at the listening than I was in some ways. Better at sitting in a kitchen until the kettle had gone round twice and the real thing finally got said. That's a long way back. What matters tonight is that between us, early on, we got handed the rules of this country the right way, not read off a page, but given, in person, by the people who keep them. And the rule about those western woods came to me the way the real ones always do. No story, no reason. An old man in Holloway, walking me out to my car, nodding off toward the dark in the west like you'd nod at weather, and saying, not don't go in the quiet, nothing so direct, just nobody's got called to be out past the fire road that side. Not after dark, anyhow. And that was all. He didn't watch to see if it landed. He went back inside. The ones who really know don't oversell. The fire road's the marker. An old cut line runs north and south through that part of the Marrow, there to stop a burn, back when they still fought them out that far. On the near side of it, you're in ordinary woods. Lonesome, but ordinary. Past it, west, you're going toward the quiet. And the rule, the way it gets said, is always about the fire road, not the quiet itself. As if the quiet's a thing you don't even name the edge of out loud, if you can help it. You name the road. The road's safe to say. So I'll tell you why I went. Because it's the part I understand the least, looking back. And it's the part you'll want. Because most of you would have gone too. I know you would. I can hear it in the letters. I was young. Young for this country, anyway. 3-4 years in, long enough to have lost the fear of the place, and not yet long enough to have earned it back. And I was a folklorist, which is a particular kind of fool. A man who collects the rules people live by and does not, in his heart, believe a single one of them is about anything real. I had a notebook full of "don't go in the quiet" and "don't take that road" and "don't answer if it calls." Pages of it, in those flat country voices. And I thought I was collecting superstition, the frightened machinery people build to keep the dark organized. I thought I was studying the map. I hadn't understood yet that I was standing on the thing the map was of. And there's a particular itch comes with that kind of foolishness. You write down, "Nobody goes past the fire road," and a small voice says, well, somebody ought to have a look. For the record. For the record. That's the phrase the foolishness wears. I wanted the one thing none of my sources had ever given me, a first-hand account. Walk the edge of the quiet in good daylight, take my notes, come back out. And here's the lie I told myself, because it's the same lie the country lets every one of you tell, and you should know its face. The rule said, after dark. Every version of it had the dark in it. So I decided the dark was the danger. And if the dark's the danger, then daylight's the loophole. And I could go in at noon and be a careful man and a brave one both. That's the country's oldest trick, that loophole. It doesn't argue with your rule. It lets you keep it. It just shows you the one door in it you can walk through and still feel wise. I've met that loophole since in a dozen of your letters, wearing a dozen faces, and it has the same patient look every time. So I went, on a clear morning in high summer, told nobody, and didn't once ask myself why a careful documentary errand wanted keeping secret. Drove the logging road as far as it'd take the car, and walked in from there. It was a loud morning. I want you to hold on to that. The woods up here in high summer are not quiet. They're a racket if you stop and take it in. Insects in sheets, birds stacked 3 deep, the leaves working. And the river, there's a river runs down through that part of the Marrow, and I kept it on my left going in, the way you'd keep a hand on a wall in the dark. A man can't get truly lost with running water for a line. Keep it on my left going in, it'd be on my right coming out. Simple as that. The fire road, when I got to it, was nothing. A grown-over cut, knee-high in fern. You'd step across it without knowing if you weren't looking. I knew. I stood on the near side a moment to mark it for the notebook I'd have told you, and then I stepped across west into the old trees. And almost right away, I started to lose the racket. It doesn't happen all at once. That's the part no source had told me, and the part I've never been able to make anybody feel who hasn't had it happen to them. Though I'll try, because that's the job. It comes off you, the sound, by layers, from the outside in. The insects went first. Not flew off, went, the way a held note goes when the hand comes off the key. 1 minute, that high summer sheet of sound, that million-legged hum that you stop hearing because it's everywhere, and then a thinning in it. And then I noticed I was straining to hear it. And a thing you're straining to hear is a thing that's mostly already gone. Then the birds. You don't think you're listening to birds until there are none, and then the none of them is louder than they ever were. The leaves went on a little longer. There was a small wind that morning, and the old leaves up high kept working a while after the rest had quit. So for a stretch in there, the only sound in the whole world was that, the dry top of the trees sound, and my own boots, and the river. I still had the river. Off to my left, lower now, but there, running water doesn't stop. That's the one thing in this world you can lean on, isn't it? Water runs downhill, always has. It is the most faithful sound there is. I told myself that. I had my hand on that wall. And then I came up over a little rise into the oldest of the trees, and the river quit. Not faded, quit, between one boot and the next, as if I'd stepped through a door and pulled it to behind me. And I stood there with my foot still up, not setting it down, because some animal part of me understood that setting it down would make a sound, and I did not, all at once, want to know what my own footstep was going to sound like in there. I want to walk you through what that is, because your mind reaches for the easy word, and the easy word is wrong. The easy word is silence, a silent woods, peaceful. It was not silence. Silence is a nothing, the sound being absent. This was the sound being taken, held. There's a difference between a room that's empty and a room where everyone stopped talking because you walked in. Both have no talking in them. You can tell which one you're standing in. It was not that the woods had no sound. It was that the woods were holding it, And the only reason a thing holds its breath is that it's heard something come in. I did the folklorist thing. God help me, I got out the notebook. Stood there in the held breath of that place and tried to write it down. The trees, the light, the absence of birdsong, 11:40 a.m. As if the page was a window I could keep between me and it. And I noticed two things, writing, that I have never been able to set down comfortably since. The first is that I couldn't hear the pencil. You always hear the pencil, that little scratch. You'd never name it, but it's there under every word you've ever written. I could see the line laying down on the page, and I could not hear it being made. The quiet had that too. It had taken even that. And the second thing was the light. The light in there was wrong for the hour. I'd come in at high noon, and the light in the old trees was the long, low, sideways gold of a late afternoon, of the very end of a day, and it had no business being. I'd been walking, 40 minutes. I looked at my watch, and my watch agreed with the light, not with me. And I had the first cold thought I'd had all morning, which was not a brave documentary thought at all. It was just, how long have I been in here?
I told you at the start that if you stand in it long enough, the place will give you a sound. I'm going to tell you about the sound, and then I'm going to tell you the one thing I did right that whole foolish day. And then I'm going to leave the rest where it is. You'll understand why. I stood too long. That's the short of it. The documentary fool in me wanted to press deeper west, just to the next stand of trees, just to be able to say I had, and the animal in me wanted to stand stock still and not add one sound to that listening place. And between the two of them, I did the worst possible thing, which was nothing. I stood. Long enough to go from a man taking notes to a man straining. Whole body gone to one raw ear, exactly the way I warned you at the top of the hour. Hunting that held breath for any sound at all to prove the world hadn't ended at the fire road behind me. And the place gave me one. Off to the west, deeper in. The direction I'd been telling myself I might just go a little further. And I won't dress it up, because the not dressing up is the whole horror of it. It was the sound of work, of someone working, out there in the held breath of the oldest woods in the county, where the state's men quit and the hunters won't step and the birds will not sing. A small, busy, ordinary sound. The sound of a person off doing a task with their hands, the kind you'd hear from the next field and never once wonder at. That, out there, the most reasonable sound in the world, in the one place on this earth there was no reason for it to be. And here's the only wise thing I did, and it's the rule under the rule, so I'll give it plainly. Every part of me that was still a documentary fool wanted to go toward it. Of course it did. There's a person out there. A person needs. There's an account out there. A thing no source ever. And every part of me that was an animal in held breath woods knew, the way you know which kind of quiet you're in, that the sound was for me, that it had been chosen, that the quiet had listened to me come in and weighed me and reached into the one man it had and found the sound that would walk him deeper. Not a roar, not a thing with teeth. The quiet doesn't need teeth. It has distance and patience, and whatever it is in a man that can't leave a sound alone, that's plenty. I did not go toward it. I turned around. And it wasn't courage, and it wasn't wisdom. It was that old man in Holloway nodding at the dark, not after dark anyhow, and a cold understanding arriving in me all at once, that the light was already long and gold and going, and that after dark was not a time of day out here. It was a place, and I was most of the way into it. So I went back the way I'd come, river on my right now, except there was no river. The quiet still had it, and the fire road did not come up when it should have, and the woods went on older and longer behind me than they had in front of me going in. I'll not perform that walkout for you. I find I still can't do it slow, 30 years on. I'll just give you the shape of it, that the way out was longer than the way in, by a good deal, in a woods that hadn't moved, and that the place was not done deciding whether to let me have the fire road back, and I could feel it not being done the whole way at the back of my neck. And when the racket came back, the insects, the birds, the blessed faithful river all at once, like a door opening, I did not feel saved. I felt put down, set back outside. The way you'd set down a thing you'd picked up, turned over, and found you didn't want after all. I came out. And that's the part that makes me an outsider in the end. I came out. The country has a saying about those woods I hadn't earned until that afternoon. Outsiders sometimes come back. The ones from here who go past the fire road, they don't, mostly. I used to think that was the locals talking themselves brave. It's the opposite. The ones from here know enough to be taken all the way. It was my ignorance that let me out. Too green to go far enough in to be kept. That's no comfort. I've had 30 years to try to make it one, and it won't be made. I never went back. And I want that on the record alongside the foolishness. That I'm a man who spent 30-some years driving toward the things other people drive away from, knocking on doors I'd been warned about, sitting up nights with stories that cost me sleep. That western edge of the Marrow is the one place on this earth I've looked at many times in good daylight and turned the car around. The curiosity that's carried me everywhere else, the country burned out of me out there in one summer afternoon, and did me a kindness doing it. So here is your rule, and I'll give it to you plain, the way it was given to me, with no story hung on it to make it go down easier, because the stories are exactly what it doesn't have, and that absence is the most honest thing about it. Don't go past the fire road, that western side of the Marrow. Don't go looking for the quiet. You won't have to look hard. That's rather the trouble. There's no why to it that I can hand you. The people who live nearest it have no why either, and they've made their peace with having none. They don't go, and they don't need telling, and they raise their children not to need telling. You're the ones who need telling. The ones out past midnight, a little too curious, a little too sure the dark's just dark and the rule's just somebody being old and frightened. I was you. I had the notebook to prove it. Take the long way. Stay on the near side of the road. And if you're ever somewhere you shouldn't be, in a quiet that's gone wrong under you, a quiet with nothing beneath it, a held breath quiet, and that quiet hands you a sound. Someone working, off where no one could be, a voice you'd know, the small, ordinary noise of the one thing in all the world you'd give the most to walk toward. Don't go toward it. That's the rule under all the rules out here, I think, when you wear them all down to the one. Don't go toward the sound it gives you. It picks the sound on purpose. It picks it for you. The not going, the standing still with your whole heart pulling one way and your 2 feet planted the other, that's a thing you have to practice.
I've had a long time to practice it. Long have chosen. That's the night. This is Field Notes. WGRY 91.3 out of Greyford. I'm Edward Hollis, and I'll be here till 4, the way I always am. Lights low, the door shut, the static for company. It's a loud time of year out there, high summer, everything in those woods going at once. Good. Let it be loud. You leave the quiet places quiet. And wherever you are tonight, stay in where it's warm. I'll talk to you tomorrow night.